Hey everybody, this is Todd Rowan with Rewards.com. We're here at the Texas Motor Speedway. The race is just finished. We're at our campsite, and I've got with me Mark from Project 17. I've got Crypto Love and Miggity Miner here. So we're going to do a little bit of a roundtable, talk a little bit about crypto. One thing that's interesting to me is kind of what we see, in the U.S. markets. Crypto Love, you're primarily U.S. and so is Miggity Miner. Mark is South Korea market. And I know you live here in the U.S. Mark. So how do you see the markets between South Korea and the U.S.?
Hi, I'm 17 Mile. I'm manage the YouTube channel, the 17 Mile Project 17 Mile YouTube channel for the crypto community in Korea. So for your question, if in Korean, the crypto community is very booming right now, but they are very enthusiastic about investing their actual money to the cryptocurrency projects. You know what I mean? And they think investing crypto is the one of the the making money kind of stuff. Like investing stock, something like that. But when I see the U.S. market compared to Korean market, I think American people, they think cryptocurrency is the one of the kind of some new technology, kind of thinking like blockchain technology. It's going to change some kind of the second internet revolution, something like that. So they think the investing cryptocurrency is the kind of long-term investment.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I thought about it.
Yeah, so for me, that's it's real interesting. I like the different perspectives. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think that at least we see the impact of the Korean markets here in the U.S. I mean, we see when projects are added to the Korean exchanges, the volumes go up quite significantly. I think there is a bit of a difference. There's a lot more. It seems like there's a lot quicker adoption in the Asian markets than we're seeing in the U.S., and a lot of that is due to regulation by the SEC. People are kind of dancing around, only dipping their toes in the U.S. because there's no clear laws on it. I think that could potentially hold back the U.S. in the long term, especially with the speed at which a lot of the Asian markets get into it. But I know there's a lot of enthusiasm, and the one cool thing about it and about doing YouTube is it is, internationally, because even though, probably like 50% of my audience is in the U.S., there's still a lot of people in Australia and England, pretty much every country on the map.
Yeah, I mean, this crypto stuff definitely is global. It's worldwide, and it was interesting. I was talking with a gentleman. I think it was in Davos. We were at a conference, and he was talking to me about the Asian markets before I told him that I was with Rewards.com or doing anything with rewards currency, and he was talking about the Asian markets and how quickly they're adopting crypto. And one of the things that he related it to and said that part of the reason they were adopting so quickly is they've been very prominent in the points and reward systems, which is a digital currency, and that's exactly what we got into here with Rewards.com. So what do you see from your side?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, compared to the normal U.S. stock market, that's what's different about the cryptocurrency market is that it's a 24-hour-a-day market, 7 days a week. It's always open. So it's something, even as a U.S. investor, you really have to pay attention to the markets outside of just the U.S. and what's happening in the Korean market, which makes it a bigger challenge for investors because it's not just your localized market. You're really paying attention to what's going on in China. You're paying attention to what's going on in Australia. You're paying attention to what's going on in Korea. So it definitely adds a new dynamic. I agree with Love that. You see, I think, U.S. investors being a little bit more skeptical, especially on new projects. I think there are a lot of projects out there that I think are great and have a lot of technology coming that people are getting really excited about. But at the same time, I think they're not really willing to put a substantial amount. They're willing to put play money in. They're willing to put gambling money in, right? Until we see, I think, something happen with the SEC and more clear definition with the tax laws, clear definition with the legality behind cryptocurrency, I think that's going to continue to be the place. But then again, we were having a conversation the other night where it's like right now in the market, the wise investor, the smart investor, now is, prices are at the bottom. And now is really the time to get in all markets. And, in projects that I think are pushing forward, like Rewards is, are really the ones who are going to make an impact. There's a lot of projects who I know have pulled back on marketing. They've pulled back on their promotional efforts. They've pulled back on kind of everything they're doing, waiting to see what happens with the market. I think that's really an unwise decision. Even in a bear market, to continue pushing, now is really the time to get in a good position and make gains.
Well, for us with what we're doing with rewards, you mentioned play money, and they're kind of putting in play money. Well, we view rewards as kind of a gateway currency. You don't have to do anything that you're not going to do anyways. You're going to buy a new pair of shoes, so buy it at Macy's. Earn some cryptocurrency, which is the rewards token. Take it out and trade it for Bitcoin or Litecoin or another currency of your fancy. So we kind of see it as a gateway currency to help people kind of introduce to that market in a non-friction way, really a no risk, so they're not having to jump into savings or get into mining or something else to get involved in the crypto market. So that's what really excites me about this. And the other thing you talked about was it really is global market. What I find myself doing is it's pretty much 24 hours a day now, and you watch the U.S. market and watch what goes on with the U.S. market, and I think it's about 6 or 8 o'clock my time that the Asian markets start picking up, and you can see the market change at that point. So it's really kind of interesting. So on the market side of things, where do you guys think the market's going to go from here? You're saying that you think it's kind of at the bottom. We've kind of been flat, for some time. What do you guys think?
I think the market is probably hit the bottom at this point right now, because it was the little the price was very consistent for a few months, right, at this point. And then now SEC they are preparing for the some ETF approval kind of stuff, and then also regulation stuff is getting positive atmosphere in the U.S. market, even in Korea. What I mean? Korean government, they are literally partially approved the ICO crowdfunding.
So there's been some big changes in the Korean market,
also
right?
they are allowed to open the new account for the for cryptocurrency exchange in Korea right now at this point. So considering this kind of trend, what I mean, I think the crypto market will become bull market eventually in the long run, in the short period of time. What I mean? I think at the end of the year, either at the end of the years or around the first quarter of the next years. I think that's my opinion about that.
Yep, I'd have to agree. So we're seeing the least volatility right now in the markets that we've seen in over a year.
And it's been incredibly stable. I mean, it's been like within a $200 range for, it seems like a long time now, but it's been a few months.
Anything over a week in crypto is a long time.
That's right.
So it's been an outrageously long time. Yeah, absolutely.
For crypto, anyways, right?
Right. Yeah, so we've got that, and like he mentioned, there's a lot of big movers moving into it, like Goldman Sachs. They have their crypto trading desk.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not just a player in the market, they create financial markets. So if they're willing to put the money into cryptocurrency, it's something that at least they've done their due diligence on, and it's something that will be coming back. Even with OTC deals, there's talk that there's less Bitcoin available and there are people willing to buy. And in the next year, in like 2020, we have a halving coming up. So a whole bunch of different stuff coming up that could potentially make the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies go up. But who knows how long it'll be. It could be the end of the year, because generally November and December we see spikes in cryptocurrency prices. However, they come crashing down with the Chinese New Year in January.
Right.
But it may be something where we'll see next year or a couple years after that. But I think eventually a lot of people got into term play. This is something that I believe is going to replace currency as we know it. And so eventually it'll go up.
Yeah, you mentioned the halving coming up in 2020. So we saw, what was it, 2016 or 16 that we halved. 17, 16, 17. But anyways, at that point we saw kind of a run up to meet the halving, so that the miners. I mean, there's a baseline on mining. My understanding, it's about $5,800 right now, and below that the energy costs are more than what it's worth in mining. So the miners are going to hold kind of a baseline. So whenever it halves again, I mean, I think naturally it would have to meet that baseline at that halving. What?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with all the sentiment. I mean, none of us can predict the future and what's coming, but I think we're seeing, I think, a foundation being laid. We're kind of at this stable point, and I think the fire is kind of just there's some warm coals. We're really waiting for that ignition switch to really set things back on fire. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think a lot of people are looking who got into cryptocurrency. Let's be honest. A lot of people got into cryptocurrency at this time last year is when the spark happened. Yep. And there's a lot of retail investors that this is when they first learned about cryptocurrency. So I think there's some expectation for that to happen again this year, but I don't know that that's going to be the case. I don't know that we're going to see a run like we did last year. I personally think we're looking at Q1, Q2 next year until we see that, until we see some of the ETF stuff simmer down, we see some of the SEC stuff simmer down. Nobody really knows. We could see the run again at the same time this year. But the point is, again, which I keep on telling people, is build your positions now. Now is the time to really start looking into the market, because if you are sitting on a Bitcoin you bought at the same time last year on this same day, you're in the positive, right, from last year at this time. So yes, there are people who bought high last year. It just makes it a longer term play for them, but you don't ever lose until you sell, right? And so I think continuing to invest and continuing to set aside those investments into crypto, not maybe your entire portfolio, but a percentage of your portfolio, is definitely a wise move.
Well, if you cost average your investment, over time and continue to put in little by little, then even if you did buy in at the peak, you still lower your cost basis, over time, and that's a good investment.
Yeah, which is beautiful, but about rewards. When I had you on the show and I first heard about the project, I was just the idea of being able to send my wife out to do Christmas shopping, and I'm earning cryptocurrency on the side, right? It's a beautiful way to get into the cryptocurrency market without having to invest anything. Other than what you're already doing with your Christmas shopping, other than what you're already doing in the normal purchases you're making every day.
Well, for us at Rewards, one thing that's interesting about the market is everything seems to follow Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up, the whole market goes up. If Bitcoin goes down, the whole market goes down. And everything seems to be pegged, to what happens with Bitcoin right now. And the model that we're doing with Rewards, I would hope that we kind of break that, peg, because it's really driven by the number of consumers we can drive into the program, put more and more consumers in the program. We have to go out and buy our currency on a daily basis, back from the market. So it should start representing more of what the consumer activity is rather than following Bitcoin up and down. So what do you think about, do you see any other currencies in the market currently that are not following Bitcoin?
Well, historically, BitConnect, Proof of Weak Hands, 3D, a lot of the Ponzi schemes out there don't really follow Bitcoin.
Well, yeah.
But right now it seems to basically historically, over since the birth of Bitcoin and days since launch, Bitcoin versus every other cryptocurrency, on a logarithmic scale, Bitcoin continues to go up. Most of the other cryptocurrencies trend down. So even though when we do see, Bitcoin go up and cryptos go up larger and Bitcoin go down, altcoins go down larger, generally the altcoins tend to trend downwards.
The long-term trending.
Yeah, so not financial advice, but something that I do is just hold more in Bitcoin and then just trade altcoins for gains. So, always setting a stop loss when I purchase an altcoin. That way, in case it does go down 90%, I'm not losing my skin on it. But there are a lot of projects out there that could potentially even replace Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin was the first, but Netscape was the first Internet Explorer.
Right.
So
what's a coin that you think might overtake Bitcoin eventually?
I mean, there are a couple out there. Potentially, I think Ravencoin has a possibility with security tokens coming out. That's one. because they're doing asset-to-asset transfers, and the security tokens, at least from what I hear, that seems to be the next ICO bubble is going to be the STO bubble, security token bubble. So I think the next bubble we're going to have is probably that, and potentially Ravencoin could be the platform on which a lot of those security token offerings are done. So I think that's a possibility.
Polymath is another one. What do you think about Polymath?
I think potentially it could do very well, but I don't have too much of an opinion on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're asking.
Yeah. So any coins that you like that may not follow Bitcoin eventually, or just currencies that you like currently.
So, not following the Bitcoin at this current stage right now, the Bitcoin Cash, it's happening. Their price is going up right now, shooting up right now because they're expecting the hard fork, and Binance gonna support the Bitcoin Cash hard fork at this point. That's why usually the Bitcoin Cash they always follow the Bitcoin price movement. You know what I mean? But they're decoupling right now, so we can see that right now from the major coin. There's a huge kind of some signal that maybe there is some less correlationship kind of the Bitcoin and the other major coin.
Right.
Yeah, definitely some even small player like just less the market cap coin. The small market cap coin they don't follow the Bitcoin that much. You know what I mean? Because the market is so small. So that's why I can see that they can trend right now, and then the coin maybe replace the Bitcoin. To be honest, the Bitcoin is evolving every time. For example, there was a spinning issue, there was a transaction fee issue, right? They to overcome the kind of technical issue stuff. Now they're developing some smart contract kind of stuff like Ethereum like that. So, but since the crypto market volume is so small, it's around only $200 billion at this point. So it's gonna be huge eventually, right? Think about it. So Bitcoin will have Bitcoin's kind of marketplace, and other major cryptocurrency will definitely have their own market kind of place. Market, some field they can play around. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe Dash payment perspective. Maybe Dash can replace the Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin gonna be the payment kind of the medium coin.
They're not really a store of value.
Yeah, the store value like asset wise. Yeah.
So I'd like to add something also. I mean, a lot of people want to know what the next Bitcoin is, but there's also a possibility that Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Because here's the thing, it's been around, it's been open source for 10 years, available to everyone to hack, never been hacked. Additionally, we're really still in a beta. Like we really don't even have a very well-functioning wallet or a very easy solution for people to buy and trade and purchase things with Bitcoin. So I think it's still very much in the alpha or the beta. We don't have any second layer solutions to enable super fast transactions. I mean, we have Lightning Network, but it's not fully functional yet. And then on top of that, there's going to be third layer stuff. There's going to be things like Rootstock, where people can make smart contracts on Bitcoin. So I think the functionality may not even be there yet. There are a lot of really good projects out there. And really, even though we have 2,000 or so cryptocurrencies right now, we could be looking at 20,000, 200,000 different cryptocurrencies because, there's a lot of different people on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the loyalty industry and see how many point systems out there. I mean, in the U.S. alone, the average consumer has 29 programs that they're, enrolled in. They participate in very few, but, worldwide, I mean, it's a huge market. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of programs. So, there's, hundreds of, different types of currencies in the market. So, I think there's a lot of room to grow.
So, I want to mention a little bit more about Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin gonna be like some gold or the silver or the uranium, like a special material, but precious metals, that kind of stuff. Like people want to just hold, and they just because circulation, it has store value. That's why Bitcoin gonna be that position in eventually. That's what I'm thinking. But payment perspective, I think that's gonna be the one over other payment coin. because the reason I'm saying is that because Dash as a masternode mechanism is the really efficient and literally funding the money to the Dash. So that's why the Dash foundations they has a lot of money. So they have a power to so invest a lot of money and expand their market to the other country. That's why I think the payment perspective, payment coin gonna be the some Dash. Yeah, gonna be played.
So, I mean, everybody should know that we really love Dash. Dash is one of our partners, and part of that is because of what you described. And I really do like that model, that they have where they're funding the Dash core team. Which, if you understand Dash, Dash the currency and the DAO, is fully autonomous, managed by the masternodes, but it gets a budget. The masternodes get a budget that's built into the protocol of 10% of the transaction fees every month to vote on how to use that budget. So the masternodes vote for Dash Core Team and fund Dash Core Team to be the face and the marketing to help companies understand, how to utilize Dash and how to integrate it. And a lot of other coins don't have that. Litecoin, would like to be a retail payment solution, but they don't have the engine behind them or the funding ability to fund a team to actually help build that for them. And so when part of, as we're looking at our project and what we do long term, is we build out our protocol and we get that autonomous protocol built out there. We want to incorporate mechanisms, similar to Dash. Probably not exactly the same because I think there's, some flaws in it. But it's going to be similar to Dash, where we have a team that helps companies understand how to, integrate their rewards programs, how to use the currency, how the market works for them. So, I think that's essential for long-term health of a currency, is to have some support mechanism underlining the currency. I mean, you just typically don't put out a business and, generally the world, takes it and it runs. And, Bitcoin may be an exception to that as a store of value, but, even that, it's got a strong development community, but it doesn't have a marketing community, or it's not funding something to help people understand how to use it. It's up to developers and projects that they build on top of it to teach people how to utilize it. So what do you think about all this?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree. I think Bitcoin will always be a storage of wealth. I tend to cover smaller projects, smaller low cap projects that I think have the potential for significant gains. Whereas I think Bitcoin is a smart investment for a long-term investment, because I think the storage of wealth will always be there, and it's something it's going to fluctuate, but I think it's going to it's going to continue to develop. It's kind of like what Randall was saying. It's going to continue to move along, and I think we'll always have that as kind of the OG crypto, right? But me personally, I like looking at smaller cap projects that have the potential for huge gains. Rewards.com, NovaChain, Upstake. There's all these different projects out there that I think have a huge potential. It's just a matter of finding the right one, right? There's thousands of them out there, and so it's really
over 2,000 now, or
over 2,000 registered on CoinMarketCap. So it's definitely you don't want to spread yourself too thin, but I think with due diligence and doing your own research and finding projects you believe in, finding good teams you can get back behind, and you see them doing good things, I think there's a lot of potential to make significant gains out there. It's just a matter of continuing to pursue. But I agree with what you guys are saying about Dash being a transactional currency. I think Ethereum still has a long way to go with smart contracts. I think but again, Bitcoin's always going to be. It's funny when you talk about. I'm looking forward to the day when we measure things on its value to Bitcoin rather than its value to the U.S. dollar. Rather than it being based on what is the value to the U.S. dollar, what is the value to the Satoshi, where one Bitcoin is what we care about. We don't care about what it equates to the U.S. dollar or to any other currency, but we care about Bitcoin being the base, which is an interesting concept.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so you guys have any more thoughts?
My opinion, again, not a financial advice, is no matter what, as long as you're in the market, you're probably going to do very well, whether you pick one project or another. But it's important to understand projects and to find ones that you do believe in. That way you can, that way you can defend yourself when somebody criticizes your your project, but also you can you really believe in it. You become part of the community, because just investing in it isn't enough. Everybody wants mass adoption. Well, mass adoption comes with everybody using it, everybody participating in the ecosystem. And so that really happens when you get involved, and you're really only going to get involved with projects that you do find interesting, that you believe in, and that you do well. But in the end, my opinion, again, not financial advice, is that as long as you're in the market, you're going to do very well.
I think that something a lot of people have to understand is, this is not a sprint. It's a long-term race. And we had a great run. I mean, we had just a huge run at the end of last year, and all of last year was actually a great run throughout the entire year. But that's not normal. That's not how normal business is built. Normal business is built little by little over time, and it takes time to build. And whether that's a business like Rewards is running, or if it's a currency, it takes time to build it. It takes time to build the traction. And I mean, we are at such an early stage, in this market. Sometimes I get caught up, in it that, oh gosh, it's this, massive market, because it is fully global. But when you really look at it, there's a very small percentage of people actually even actually know what it is, or use it. And then you're right, earlier you were talking about the difficulty of using it, not really having a good wallet. So what I'm starting to see is projects coming along, and currencies like Dash developing. They have evolution that they're supposed to be coming out with, which helps consumers handle their private keys in a more user-friendly manner, and more to what they would be used to. Having support mechanisms and stuff behind that. And I think as those traditional business models develop, and we start seeing, companies either support certain activities, whether it's on Bitcoin or Ethereum, but they create an organization to help people understand it, or create a wallet that helps them manage their private keys. It's easier to use. That's going to be more common to the average person out there. Then I think we'll see a lot more adoption. So I think right now it's going to be very hard for the average person to figure out how to deal with a private key and public key. And if you're transferring something there of value, frankly, it scares the heck out of people. Even just transferring $500 of crypto into a wallet, it's like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this, and where do I store it? Where do I put my backup? Where do I've got these 24 words that I wrote down. Where do I keep that? Do I just carry this thing on me, every day, or what do I do with it? So it makes it's not easy right now.
I was going to piggyback off of what Randall was saying as far as just being in the market. I started in cryptocurrency in 2013, very lightly as a retail investor, and a regret that I have is I wish I would have invested so much more 8 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And a promise I made myself is I'm not 8 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm not going to be in that same boat of going, I wish I would have invested. So again, as Randall was saying, not financial advice, opinions. Me personally, I don't want to be sitting 8 years from now going, I wish I invested in cryptocurrency, because we really are in the foundations of an emerging technology that I think is going to revolutionize the way we do business.
Got to get into the market, and of course, none of this is financial advice or recommending you buy anything or participate. But one easy way to do it is just go do your everyday shopping, buy your everyday goods through Rewards.com, earn a little crypto, and explore the market, figure it out.